Okay, so I'm going to show you exactly how I traded script strat yesterday and how I pretty much have been perfectly executing it every London session. So script does something called age of fib. It's when you mark out the 3 minute wick low or wick high and 3 minute body low or body high. And how you determine which one you're going to mark out is where do you want price to go, right? So if you want it to go higher, or if it already is trending higher, you're going to go to the body high, okay? So you're going to put it at the body of the price or of the direction that you do want it to go, okay? Now, if you're going to trade bearish PA with this, you're going to go body low and wick high, okay? So highest wick and lowest body, okay? And that's pretty much how he marks his fib on Asia. That's how I mark it. But it works quite well, and I'll show you why, okay? Yesterday was obviously bullish coming out of Asia. How do we know that? Because we start displacing through this key level, which is Asia high. Okay, when we displace that key level through Asia high, I'm looking for us either to have some sort of rejection and breakdown, or for us to touch a level of the fib so that we can start reversing from that point on. Now, if we hit fib with the London session, most of the time, AM is going to go ahead and continue lower, right? And in this profile, you can tell that's exactly what happened, okay? Asia consolidated, London continued, New York would manipulate in reverse, but this actually did a bit of a manipulation. Started the reverse, and New York AM continued, right? So, with that being said, we went ahead and we hit -3 and 3.25's range, so pretty much just the middle of it, right? So we hit the middle of it. And I had a good reaction coming off of that, right? So I was really confident in this short because of our break here, right? Our break on the 3 minute. Now, what you do from here is you're going to mark out your OTE, okay? You're going to do it the exact same way as you marked out Asia. You're going to mark out the 3 minute high, okay? And if you're hoping for price to go lower, you're going to go with the 3 minute body low, okay? Now, a reason why I don't exactly like the 3 minute OTE that Matthew trades is because it gets hit sometimes, right? A lot of the time it gets edged like this, and 0.705 is where you're looking for it to hit. A lot of time it gets edged like that, okay? So on top of this, on top of that OTE level, I go ahead and I mark out the same exact breaking leg with a GAN box to give me a 50% range, okay? And you go from the low to the high here of the break. All right, we're going to put CTE, okay, and we're just going to look for that 50% range to get tapped, okay? So when that 50% range gets tapped, I put a limit here, okay? I'll put my stops above at the high of this range that we do not want it to break out of, okay? And then you're going to ask yourself, what do I target, okay? From this point, if you're looking for bearish structure, you're going to target two things, okay? You can either target Asia's OTE levels, okay? I like to target the 0.295, not the 0.705, because if we were to continue price higher, we would bounce from this spot, or 0.5, and then we'd reclaim this and then bounce. Okay, so it would do something like this, right? It would come down here, bounce a little bit, come down to 0.2 or 0.5, have a stupendously volatile leg from there. And then we'd probably come back down into a 50% of a 2 minute range, and then we'd end up moving like that, right? So I did not want that to happen to me, and so I was like, okay, what is higher time frame telling us? Okay, higher time frame is telling us that we are super bullish and we're extended super high, but we're in need of a rebalance, right? So I targeted this hourly low here because it's first presented, and I didn't want to see bullish structure get flipped from this point, just because, well, actually it's not that I didn't want to see it, it's just the fact that I didn't think it was probable, especially in after hour session like Asia or London, right? So with that being said, I targeted that, and that trade ran us 1500 or 1550 with full TP, right? So it was a super long trade, hit just before AM session. Not bad risk to reward, to be honest. Usually scripts like, oh yeah, 40-point stop, right? I don't care to have that small of a stop, right? If you're going to use small sizing like 5 minis, you're going to go ahead and you're going to have like $300 risk right here to make $1,500, right? And that's essentially what I did last night. So yeah, that's kind of the rundown of that trade right there. And I would keep your sizing consistent of 3 to 5 micros depending on confidence. You could use a mini as well, but that's when you have a bigger buffer and you're more okay with losing that, right? I think the biggest thing that you can have is preparation for your worst streak of losing. My worst streak of losing is 3 days in a row. And with that being said, with a normal or average buffer of $2,000, right, I'd only want to lose $600 a day, right? So that's like my max loss. So this 300 would allow me to lose this and then still trade AM session and get a setup at that point, right? So anyways, that's kind of what I look for with this strategy in particular. I also hit a trade yesterday, and this one I actually did use 3-minute OTE. All right, let me get on the 3-minute. Sorry. This one I actually did use 3-minute OTE, and it worked pretty well here. And the reason why I used 3-minute OTE is because we were not super volatile coming off of the manipulation. Here we are. So I marked out fib here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. And I was looking for it to go higher. Okay. Price was already trending higher. All right. Now, there's a reason why I took this external to internal. Okay. And I'll tell you why. It's because we didn't displace through this high. And instead we started to reverse after we swept. Okay. We look on the 3-minute here. You pretty much don't want to see like any hiccups going through this high. And if you do, you want to see a retracement and bounce from this area, right? So with that being said, I was comfortable taking this trade really low risk, just because of the volatility profile and because the entry didn't look too beautiful, to be honest. But I was targeting with the OTE of Asia, by the way, you're just going to mark out the entire session. You don't have to worry about highs or lows. Just literally mark it out how it's colored, right? And I put OTE for both for both sides. And pretty much what that is like if 0.705 were to be up here, it would be 0.295, right? Anyways, so I actually targeted perfectly because after we had this 3-minute break, kind of here, we went off OTE area here. Okay, and I had really, really small stops. That's why I was super cool taking this trade, okay? Stops up here, it was 19 points. I did not give a shit about $190, okay? And I went ahead and I targeted the OTE area up here just because of what I just explained to you, right? It can bounce. So anyways, that's how I use it with Asia and London. Another thing that's been pretty consistent for me here is if you use the London AM session OTE area. So if you go from London low to New York AM high, okay, a lot of the times we will touch OTE areas down here, and then we'll get some sort of reaction from here that we can capitalize on, right? I don't know if I can show you a perfect example because I don't remember the last time I had a good trade from that. Here we go. So we went ahead and we marked out the entirety of AM session, and it's because it completely engulfed London, right? So London won't extend this fib at all. So the true range is going to be New York AM, right? Now, if London was down here and it was, twiddling down here, you go London low here, right? Boom. So from this point, okay, we got a manipulation outside of New York AM. And usually when we have, by the way, this is a big thing to note. Usually when we have a manipulation outside of a session and we take that session high, we do move lower to rebalance OTE levels or to go all the way down to external liquidity. Okay, and the reality of how you would know is what's your structure on the higher time frame? Okay, what PD arrays are we respecting and what are we not respecting? But on top of that, how does it react to these levels, right? So I knew we were going to be super bullish. I thought we might go down to this 0.5, but I was reactionary and discretionary from this trade, right? So a lot of people went ahead and did the 3-minute OTE from this point. They did it from like right here, right? Going up in this consolidation area or up here, I think. It was actually up there, right? Because you mark from the low all the way up to the extended high until it hits your OTE, right? That's kind of how they play it. I, however, did not. I went ahead and I marked out 2 minute 50% range, okay? And it almost gives me the same exact entry, because you pretty much mark up until it doesn't hit your 50% range, right? So here it hit 50%, here it did not, right? So now we extend this out and we wait until it hits it, okay? And the beautiful thing is you can stack those two confluences. You can stack the 50% range of 2 minute. You could stack the OTE of 3 minute. Let me get this ready for you. Okay, you can stack the OTE of 3 minute. Oh, come on. Load. Yeah, I need to buy a new MacBook too. I've been making a hella profit lately, so I low-key should invest a little bit of money into that, plus it's a tax write-off for me. But what you actually can do here is use both of them stacked together to give you kind of a range here at where price should reject from. Okay, and yeah, this was my fill for this trade. I did take this trade. I don't remember when, but I did take it just on evals, so it wasn't a huge thing. I did give myself a 40-point stop, and I targeted external. Okay, so I targeted external of the PM session. And the beautiful part is something, like I said, when the session ends like this, we leave a low. We sweep that session low. It's even more conviction. That on top of the 2 minute 50% and the 3 minute OTE, you literally have a perfect trade. Okay, you literally have a perfect trade, and as you can see, it ran forever. Okay, why did it run forever? Because you were following bullish structure on the higher time frame, right? So you could have caught 1,000 fucking points off that. But if you don't target session liquidity, you can do your fib. I'm pretty sure that's perfect. Nope. You can do your fib, which is another thing that you can target. Okay, and you can target 1.6. Okay, 1.6 is usually what it hits for retracements. -2 is usually what it hits for runners. But if you're reactionary, then you can leave runners after it hits -2. You can mark out the 50% range between -2 and -2.5, and you can see how price rejects this on a higher time frame. I'm gonna do the 5 minute. I think I found way more luck with the 5 minute. But it wasn't really bouncing. What it was really bouncing off of was the range between 1.6 and -2, I believe. No, it wasn't even rejecting off of that. So actually, I would have just been out at that -2. That's my discretion there. And I would have loved to just see this hold, and then it would have pushed higher. But I didn't even hold it this high, so I just held it to external, which was right here. Okay, that was really good. That would have been probably a trade I would have took with a mini, just because of how much conviction I had. And that would have profited me pretty well. So yeah, that is another example of how you can capitalize on this. The real entry, I guess you could have come and taken it off of just the tap here. I hate those though. I love confirmation. Confirmation is king for me. Confirmation is what makes your win rate good. Confirmation is what makes it so that you're profitable, in my opinion. But anyways, so those are two examples, right, of using OTE of London and AM and capitalizing on that, and then targeting Asia's fib or session exterior liquidity, or using the fib of Asia that was just created, manipulation, and getting a fib draw for London, and then a 2 minute 50% range going into a high time frame PD array, right? And I'm going to be looking for this after Asia closes here as well. My bias is pretty obvious. I'm pretty confident we are still going to hold bullish order flow. We're rejecting so much bullish. We're rejecting so much bullish confluences in such a beautiful way that it would be kind of a stupid idea not to. And this was really the only PD array that I needed to see get filled. That was left on the 4 hour. As you can see, this was taken out. This was the first presented of this range. Okay, we have this down here, and I think that it's just in all due time until that gets filled. but I do not think it's going to be with overnight session. I think overnight session is going to carry us probably to this 4-hour high up here. I'd probably take profit at the rejection block just to be safe. But yeah, so my bias is bullish on that 4-hour. 1 hour, I mean, dude, we have so much stacked up liquidity. It's just in all due time until we take it out. But like I said, I don't think that's going to be today. I'd probably end up just targeting this hourly high, if I'm going to be honest. I think most of the volatility got pumped in the market with FOMC. So Asia and London's going to be pretty dead. Yeah. So pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much the trading strategy there. Just follow those steps. Take those, use it on your own time and back test, or I prefer forward testing just because you can be a little bit more discretionary instead of, the candle just appearing. Like you can kind of see the rejection that's happening, in current time. So, all right, let me know if this helped with the strategy at all. I hope it did. I really hope it did. If not, if you have any questions that I did not answer, go ahead and let me know. All right. Okay.